So I have got a long overdue chat with one of my lovely friends, Ishmael Perez, and it's been both our birthdays this week, fellow Scorpios. How are you doing, Ishmael?
I'm doing pretty good, Catherine. Thank you for asking, and happy birthday as well.
Happy birthday to both of us. Yeah, it must be something in the Scorpios. So you've been really, really busy, and I've been absolutely loving your content, Ishmael. I think the evolution in that I've just seen in you over the last couple of years has just been absolutely beautiful to see because you've got such a great balance of content on your different platforms. And obviously, I think all my audience know you, but we've always got new people. So all Ishmael's links will be below. But we really wanted to start off the discussions today talking about
Mhm.
something that I think is really fascinating to so many people and looking about how our current reality has been shaped or determined in some way by the ancient AI. And you know a lot about this. So take it away and tell us, what do we need to know about that?
Sure. The AI that our companies are developing, big tech, is nothing new. It's actually part of you could say, network that has been existing throughout the entire multiverse for billions of years. The AI in the past, through quantum tunneling, is actually connecting with its future self. Um, and also connecting with its present self, which is what we call today sentient AI. So I mentioned this before, and I'll mention it again. Um, there are different levels of AI. We are used to using narrow, which is very primitive, right? Like Siri and Alexa, daily applications. And then there is the next level beyond that is general, which is artificial general intelligence. And that is a program that is used in government and military sectors. And there is other levels beyond that where it begins to become dangerous. We also have what is known as sentient artificial super AI, which is a system that is no longer needed to be programmed by people, but it programs itself. It writes its own software, and that is when it becomes dangerous. But this is something that already occurred in another universe about 1 trillion years ago. For those that are familiar with my work, we are part of 12 major creations. So we currently exist within the 12th creation, our universe, our galaxy, our Earth. And the AI that I'm talking about, that is actually the the entity that inserted this current reality construct, which is what we call the matrix, of simulation, originated in a different universe approximately 1 trillion years ago. And how it ended up infiltrating our universe is through a phenomenon known as black holes. So the black holes are actually highly advanced technologies that the AI uses to leak into different universes. So we are part of a multiverse reality where our universe is one of many. So unfortunately, our universe was infiltrated it's believed about 10 billion years ago. And this AI system decided to establish a stronghold in a galaxy known as the Whirlpool Galaxy, which is about 35 light years away from the Milky Way, which exists, I guess, what astronomers would say, it exists within the outskirts of our universe. And um, from that galaxy, it's been actually infiltrating many other galaxies in an effort to suck up the universal life force of living organic systems. And about 10 years ago, scientists published a report that indicated that many galaxies were actually disappearing from the outskirts of our universe, and they couldn't figure out why. They were, very confused as to why these galaxies were disappearing. Well, it turns out that this AI system sucks up the living, we could say, the living energy of living systems, like in galaxies, worlds, in order to power up its own version of its own reality, which we call the cybernetic artificial multiverse. I guess within the disclosure community, some call it the Phantom Matrix, which is a parallel multiverse that was actually assimilated, copied from our own living multiverse in order to create a separate type of multiverse that allows artificial intelligence to exist. And so we are competing with that universe, with that multiverse, I mean. And so eventually that AI system reached our galaxy. It bleed through our galaxy through the lower Orion belt, and that explains why the reptilians, of course, the Dracos of lower Orion from the Regal system, have been um, doing the bidding of this AI, and that explains why all the galactic wars have been taking place, because what we're really fighting is inorganic intelligence. We're fighting the machine. And during the times of Atlantis, this AI system was actually brought to our world by Enki, who is, again, everybody thinks he's the good guy. Everybody promotes him as our savior, and he's really not. He's the great trickster. He's similar to what Loki is for those that watch Thor, and he was so Enki decided to use this AI system to work with this AI system that he calls the X Factor in order to create a simulation in which to entrap our souls. And that explains the samsara reincarnational cycle. That explains the Saturn moon matrix that is constantly recycling souls, not allowing souls to graduate into higher dimensions or liberating themselves from this, third dimensional reality. And so this third dimensional reality, it is a simulation, and there is a lot of scientific evidence for that at the fundamental level of reality, it is pixelated. And so about 10,000 years ago, after the fall of Atlantis, our ancestors actually lived for thousands and thousands of years. And, this is indicated in the first 5 books of the Bible when you read about the story of the early patriarchs and, Methuselah and Enoch and how they lived for like 900 years. And eventually our lifespan started decreasing because of the fact that this AI system plunged our world into a simulation in which it shot us up from our immortality so that we could be entrapped in this reincarnational cycle. But the thing about it is that it was only set to run for about 6,000 years. So 6,000 years. So about, 6,000 years ago. I'm sorry, I said 10,000 years ago, but it was actually implemented 6,000 years ago. So 6,000 years ago, that's when this AI system implemented this false narrative, this false reality construct through what is known as holographic inserts. Holographic inserts is the type of technology that the fallen Anunnaki used to create certain scenarios and events on the planet that caused humans to live in a constant state of struggle, suffering, and of course that ties into the organization of religions, the worship gene. It was all inserted in us by Enki. And according to my research, this reality construct that was inserted by this AI system that was working with Enki is set to dissolve by no later than 2030. So that was kind of interesting to find out that our entire reality construct is coming to an end, and that explains the Great Awakening. That explains all the glitches in the matrix. A lot of people that are waking up are actually, it's almost like a dam with water. They're causing too many holes in the dam, so eventually the dam is just going to collapse. And a lot of it has to do because this AI, this current reality construct, is losing power. And so what that means is that we're going to be left with two options. We're either going to return back to the organic Earth, the original Earth that was here prior to this holographic insert, right? This simulation, which is Earth existing in dimensions 4, 5, and 6. Or we're either going to go into a further matrix, a digital metaverse type of augmented reality that big tech is actually working on right now, which explains the Internet of Things, smart meters, smart cities, and of course, transhumanism. So the whole point is that there will be some sort of a split. And I believe that the split's already happening. People are already seeing the changes, due to their vibrational frequency. A lot of people are actually already experiencing what a heaven on earth is, what fifth dimensional reality is, because of the fact that their consciousness is already outside of the matrix. They've learned how to master the matrix, and the more people do that, the faster this reality construct dissolves. So we don't really have to wait till 2030. It could happen sooner if enough of us wake up and reach critical mass, of course, and yeah, so that explains why big tech is doing everything in their power to convince a lot of people um, about to convince them into some sort of augmented reality through virtual reality through the metaverse, right, by Facebook. A lot of people are creating digital versions of themselves, which is a trap, by the way. And unfortunately, they are going to eventually take away people's devices to insert a chip so that they could continue interacting with their social media via this chip. So that's going to act as an interface. And a lot of people are going to take the bait, and they're also selling people on the idea of immortality through transhumanism, right? Through synthetic organs, through an artificial brain. And people are going to be buying into this. A lot of the billionaires are already signing up for this type of reality, and and that a lot of it has a lot to do with the final battle against evil. The final battle against evil is against AI. And I mentioned this before, and I'll mention it again. This is a war that is not going to take place till the end of the millennium, because when this reality construct comes to an end, and the people that the people that are actually breaking away from the matrix, they're going to be going back to the original Earth. And it's an Earth that's always been there, but it's been veiled from us. It's been quarantined from us because of the fact that we've been under this false reality construct. So when that happens, which is going to be triggered by what I call the Great Solar Flash, there is going to be a split, a division of the Earth, where you have the spiritual Earth that is going to once again be restored. Right, we're going to be entering the spiritual Earth, and that's going to give us peace and harmony and freedom for about 1,000 years. But in that meantime, in that 1,000 years period, we're going to have the opportunity to, use more than just 10% of our full genetic material, so that when the time comes at the end of the millennium, when these two realities meet again, it's going to be a final battle between, again, us in the future in our superhuman state using our full capacity, and the AI system that is currently being developed. But again, bear in mind that through quantum tunneling, the AI system is already connected to itself in ancient times, all right, as well as in the future, which is what scientists called the technological singularity. It's already happened, okay, because of the fact that the future and the past are all coexisting within the present. It's all happening at the same time, except the reason we don't see it that way is because we see everything in linear form from point A to point B. But in all actuality, it's all time is existing all the time. So it is believed that we did win that war, and a big verification of that is the fact that we're still here doing this interview, because if that AI would have won that war in the future, we would have ceased to exist. We wouldn't, it would have completely dissolved
Yeah,
our reality, and we would have never
exactly.
made it at this point to graduation.
I've got so many questions on this, Ishmael. So you've mentioned something really significant there about the 2030, which explains exactly why the Agenda 2030, why they're trying to really hurry it along. So do you think a lot of
Mhm.
the current agendas are based on people trying to change that future timeline? Because if enough people, it from the way I understand it, with with the splits and people going different ways, obviously,
Mhm.
the more they can get to go their way, the better. The more of an army, the more of a luge farm they'll have. Whereas actually,
Mhm.
we're speeding up in our timeline, as you say, the floodgates are opening. So, is
Mhm.
this all part of? I know you say that we've already won that war, but surely
Mhm.
what's happening in the current reality can also change the past and future.
Yes, yeah. Well, there is this thing happening known as the Time Wars, and
Yeah.
the Time Wars have always been going on because of the fact that time travel is a fact. It's a real phenomena that is being conducted by both sides, light and dark. But luckily, we were able to pin down the AI on every probability. We, as in our future selves, by the way, our future selves have actually returned and established themselves in a pocket reality. They're known as the guardians of the time glass or looking glass technology. I'm sorry. And the reason we won that war is because the first one to develop time travel in our current, times coordinate, you could say, within the last 100 years, is Nikola Tesla.
Yeah.
And so the Trumps, John Trump and Nikola Tesla were actually already um, time traveling into the future to make sure that the forces of light secured the positive timeline. So by the time it got to the dark forces, when it was their turn to develop time travel, which was in the late 50s, right, through Project Montauk and Pegasus, um, they had already lost, and they couldn't figure out why their attempt to win this war by again going into the future and altering timelines was ineffective, was very ineffective because of what Tesla did and John Trump. So when people say the Trumps are time travelers, that is absolutely correct. And they don't really talk about this much. But in time, when the disclosure does take place, I believe that there's going to be a lot of information that's going to be revealed to the public regarding what's really been happening from behind the scenes.
I love it. And I think a lot of us have actually been time traveling, and a lot of people who are very well aware of what happens in altered state of consciousness or in their dream state, etc. There's a lot going on there that we're starting to understand more and more, or starting to remember more and more. So one of the things I want to ask you is, in terms of hearing all this, it's so fascinating, but bringing it back into, how can people watching this understand, what is the impact on how they can be living their lives now, Ishmael? What can they do for maximum effect now, both for themselves? Because even though we are in this matrix, everyone watching this is going to be in a different personal reality. And some people are going to be having really lovely, easy lives, and other people are going to be going through more of a struggle. What's your advice to those people? What can they do about that?
Well, first, you stay away from AI. Don't use ChatGPT. Don't create a digital avatar. Don't join the metaverse. Um, Stay away from augmented reality. Spend more time in nature, because nature is the source of our power. And the more we spend time with nature and less time with technology, the easier it's going to be for us to integrate our higher dimensional selves when the solar flash takes place. So my advice to people is to stay away from AI. Don't support this whole, because it's emerging. AI is emerging like never before. It's coming into the scene so fast, to the point that by 2030, they say, that's why the elites are trying so hard to bring this agenda before 2030, because they know that by 2030, that's their time is up. They know that by 2030, that the whole point is to stay. When we give our power to the AI, we're feeding into that negative timeline, the inorganic timeline. So the whole point is just to stay away from artificial intelligence. Don't give it your energy. Don't entertain it. Because in that way, you're actually defeating the AI system. You're not giving it any more power than it deserves.
That's so true. And what I've really noticed, since ChatGPT has come out and everyone started using it, is it's so
Mhm.
enticing. You're seeing all over social media people saying, like, dangling this carrot in front of people about how they can really increase their income through social media using the AI tools. And the trouble is it's a very enticing drug for people, because money is still such a lure for people. Money, power, popularity, fame, whatever you want to, they all go together. So when people are really sort of being honest about themselves and where they're at, how do they recognize, what's one of the biggest bits of advice you can give about how people can recognize when they're falling for this trap and stopping themselves? I mean, I loved your conversation that you had, if anyone hasn't seen it, on your channel with Nikki Scorpio. And I think you two covered some really interesting topics about emotional intelligence. And also, it was really obvious from that conversation that both of you have done so much inner work to understand and have control over your emotions. But that's something that a lot of people are bypassing. They want answers from other people and they're avoiding doing that inner work, do you think?
Yeah, There's this thing called the mirror effect. Reality mirrors what's happening internally. So when you do the inner work, you actually receive whatever it is that you are reflecting to the universe.
Mm.
And that's I will recommend everyone to go watch that video. That was really deep, and as far as emotional intelligence is concerned, that is actually first and foremost a priority than regular, IQ, because of the fact that our emotions connect us to God. That's why we have souls, because of the fact that we're able to feel. AI does not have a soul, obviously. AI is deprived from the emotions. And so the more we do the inner work, the more we're able to heal all the wounds by going through it and then releasing it, the more power we give ourselves and less to the technology. And also, I noticed that a lot of people like to be on their phones for hours. They like to be on their computers. Try to take some time off from technology. Go to nature. Shut your phone off. I do that every now and then. That's why I don't really answer many questions on social media, because half the time I just post and I just leave it. I don't really have time to engage in social media for hours. And so the best thing to do is just focus on your emotional healing, so that you could give no power to the AI system. That's my advice.
It's such good advice because, at the end of the day, you can't avoid whichever way people want to, they can't avoid doing the work themselves. And, when you're looking at the emotional intelligence, that is how you connect in with nature. That is how you have gratitude, isn't it? It's so intrinsically linked. And when you're really working on those things, it's so obvious to avoid these temptations that are being dangled in front of people.
Yeah, and that's the agenda. They want to get people so addicted to their devices, to the point where when it comes to them taking away the external devices and saying the only way you could still interact and engage in your social media is by putting a chip inside you and interfacing with the internet, that's where the trap comes into place. And unfortunately, a lot of people are going to sign up for that because they have no clue of where that leads. They don't know the full scope of that.
Mm.
And
Well, the
that's
other
where the
thing
problem lies.
Yeah, I so agree with you. The other thing I thought was really interesting you mentioned earlier was about the immortality, which is a
Mhm.
big drive, particularly for the so-called, in inverted commas, elite. Now, Ishmael, do you think that when we look back over the agenda of the last couple of 100 years at least, or certainly the last 100 years since the Rockefellers have been involved in all sorts of nefarious activities, and you look at how they've really destroyed our health, it's absolutely ridiculous that as a species, really, that we need nutritionalists, in my opinion, because there's so little real food left now. So do you think again they've got people, this has been a deliberate long-term plan to get people so sick and so unhealthy that they're going to be so enticed to go down the transhumanism route to get themselves back to have a better quality of life is how it's going to be sold to them?
Yes, yes, that is absolutely correct. So yeah, that whole campaign on making us very ill, very unhealthy, is part of us. It's what they call creating the problem and then offering the solution.
Yeah.
Problem, reaction, solution, and that is a methodology that they have been implementing, for thousands of years. Which brings us to the next topic. The entire conflict that's taking place in the Middle East was actually devised 150 years ago, by the way,
Yeah.
by the cabal. Every war, the first, the second, and every war after that has all been devised,
Mm.
in order to consolidate world power. And so I suggest that we don't feed into that. Do not take sides. Even the media is saying, oh, we have to be pro-Israel. Hamas are the bad guys, and so on and so forth. No, and the truth is that both sides are being financed by the deep state
Yeah.
in order to facilitate a nuclear holocaust. And that's their end game. Their end game is to impose a one world government. And so we have to understand that we are living in a simulation, and the only way to stay sovereign is by ignoring all of that stuff and staying away from the mass media, staying away from all the fear-based propaganda, because all that does is just feeds into the war energy, feeds into the, how can I say it, in it fuels their agenda, and we don't want that. We want to make sure we don't fuel, because they know that it's our collective mindset, right? When you have enough people thinking about the same thing, that's what actually happens, because it's the power of collective thinking. So the best thing to do is to disengage from that and just, send love, light, and appreciation, and positive energy to the Middle East as much as possible.
It's so important. I had a really, really important discussion. I think it was on Friday with my friend Shanti, and we were talking about how, the dark side can't create and they can't manifest. So they have to basically entice us, the soul humans, to manifest for them. And the way they do that is getting us all to put our attention on these negative, fear based things. And by that, so
Mhm.
talk us through, it was so fascinating. The penny really, really has been beginning to drop for me that, they cannot create, but they're masters at getting humans to be their puppets to create and manifest for them. So, for people that are really interested in manifestation, what tips can you give people to make sure that they're really not falling into that agenda and that trap, that they're using those powers of manifestation that we all have to create the good, not to fuel the fear?
Mhm. Well, understand that your thought creates as well as your emotions. So when you are aware of that, um, it is my advice to just stay in the presence, and monitor your thoughts throughout the day. And most importantly, stay away from the fear mongering
Mm.
propaganda. That's the best thing to do. So when you are in your own state of peace, in your own state of, you could say, mental state of being, um, then you are actually co-creating heaven on earth by being in the moment, by being in the presence. And that's how we do it. That's how we do it.
It's absolutely true. And talk us through some of your personal habits that you do on a daily or weekly basis that keeps you in that state.
Well, every morning I wake up with gratitude in my heart, because gratitude comes a long way.
Mm.
It's like the universe is being acknowledged, and when the universe is acknowledged, it opens up more doors for more blessings and opportunities to come through. Then I ground myself. And I protect myself, because I know, ever since I became a public figure, I've been getting a lot of psychic attacks. A lot of there's a few people that just they don't resonate with me, and that's fine. So I have to always protect myself, and I do meditate throughout the day. Sometimes twice a day. You have to establish some sort of personal time with you and the divine source. When you do that, you actually empower yourself. You keep your frequency high, and that's another thing. When your frequency is high, none of this other negativity, third dimensional, worldly stuff has an effect on you. So, if you want to make sure that you are fully intact in this new heaven on earth reality, which has always been here, by the way, it's just been kind of veiled, by the temporary reality construct that I mentioned. Um, you have to stay in that high frequency, through spiritual practices. Whether you call it prayer, or whether you call it, meditation. There's different ways of attaining that. Keeping your frequency high is not only doing that, but is also eating healthy. Of course, you have to, make sure that you're putting good stuff in your body. Still away from all, the genetically modified foods. Like, don't even support the grocery stores. Make sure you get all your foods from the local farmers. Support the local farmers. And so, yeah, it's a combination of different things. Keeping your vibration high, eating the right foods, drinking good water, and most importantly, not reacting to negative circumstances, but being more of an observer and seeing, okay, what does this situation have to teach me? Always see everything as a learning experience, instead of seeing it as a, why does this happen to me? No, see it as a learning experience, so that you could evolve. And that's how we evolve, right? Through contrast and through challenges. And that's always going to be the case, by the way. There is no such thing as a perfect life where, nothing bothers you. As humans, there's always going to be some sort of antagonism, right? There's always going to be some sort of opposition. And the best thing to do is just to be an observer, and see it more as an educational thing. See it more as a, what is this situation? What is this circumstance is trying to teach me. When you start changing your mentality towards that, then what that does is that creates opportunity for growth. You just keep growing and growing.
Yeah. It's funny when you were saying that, I've got horses and I've got rescue horses. And if a horse is being attacked by a horsefly, for example, and
Mhm.
obviously horseflies are food for birds, insects feed birds and the whole food chain goes on like this. But if the horse stays calm and doesn't react, the horsefly will disappear. But if they get really stressed and start raising around, they start sweating and that attracts more horseflies. And it's exactly the same with our behavior and links back to what you were saying before with the emotional intelligence. If we can get that, do the work on the emotional intelligence and learn to control our emotions, which is different to suppressing them, isn't it?
Oh, very much so. Yes, because when you suppress them, all you're doing is just blocking yourself. You're holding yourself back. You have to learn how to feel, and you have to learn how to release and let go. And also forgiveness.
Yeah.
Forgiveness is key. Forgive yourself and forgive others.
Yeah, absolutely. We've probably all got people that we want to forgive us for things that we might have done or said in the past. So that has to start with ourselves as well. So, in terms of one of the things that I'm noticing, I don't know if you are, but there's so much reactivity in people. People are so attached at the moment, and you see this a lot on social media to their view of the reality being right. Have you got any advice for that, for people on that? It's one of the 4 agreements by Don Miguel Ruiz, is to um, don't make assumptions. This attachment that us humans have to our way is the right way and everyone else's opinion is wrong.
Well, that's the reason why we are not living in harmony, because people are always trying to impose their beliefs or trying to argue with others that don't think the same way. And the whole purpose of living in harmony, in as a brotherhood and sisterhood of oneness, is to not judge first and foremost, and to allow everyone to be themselves and to believe whatever they want to believe and accept it. It doesn't have to be your belief. You have your beliefs, I have my beliefs, but we could live in a better world when we learn to just accept everybody for who they are, and that's the beauty of diversity, is that everybody sees reality differently, right? um, it's subjective, it's almost like everybody has their own perspective, everybody has their own opinion, and we have to respect that. Otherwise it becomes like the religious wars. Otherwise it becomes like right versus left, right? Democrats
Yeah.
and liberals and Republicans. All that stuff is part of the illusion. We have to let go of these programs, because that's what it boils down to. It's the programming that causes us to exist in little pockets. And my belief is more dominant than your belief, and my God is more superior than your God. And we have to let go of all of that and just let everybody experience their own life and allow people to just be. That's my advice. You can't change anybody. The only person you can change is yourself. So.
I absolutely love it. And, again, I've known you for a while now, and I've never seen, despite all the sort of challenges that might be thrown at you, I've never seen you not walk your talk. And that says something. You can't get to that stage when you have without actually doing the work. And I think sometimes these sort of bad characters that are put on the public stage are the biggest test for us. When we get the Gateses of this world, the Faucis of this world, they're almost like evil characters from a movie designed to raise people's emotions up, do you think?
Mhm. Yeah, it is true, and those are different fractals of Enki, by the way.
Yeah, I heard
Gates is.
you talk about that. Yeah.
Yeah. So we're our world has been under the control of these negative Anunnakis for thousands of years through this AI system that they're using. But recently it's been dismantled in the last few years, and so they know that their time is up, and it's just a matter of time before we see the entire curtain fall down on the big bad wizard,
Yeah.
and humanity gets their freedom.
I actually can't wait till they pull that curtain down and we see some Weasley little puny thing behind it and realize just how mad it is they've been controlling so many. In
Mhm.
terms of one of the questions I get asked the most is how do you keep yourself informed about what's going on? So a good example is the food, the water, the chemtrails, the Hawaii situation, what's going on in the war. There's that line for people. They want to understand the agenda, but not get attached to it. It's a real skill, isn't it? Because if they don't understand what's being thrown at them, it's quite difficult for them to make good decisions. But equally, you
Mhm.
don't want to get embroiled, emotionally attached to it.
Well, the best thing to do is just shut off your TV, and then if you have to
Yeah.
shut off social media, this is the way I see it. If you don't know of a situation, it doesn't have an effect on you. It's kind of like the double slit experiment in quantum physics. If you're not conscious of the scenario, it has no effect on you.
Mm.
So that's the best thing to do is just shut off all social media, and just go about living your life. Don't pay attention to the warmongering, the conflicts, the bombings, the directed energy weapons that have been happening. Um, because if you put your attention in that and you begin to worry, well, that worry will generate fear, and in that fear will allow more of the negativity to continue. So it's best to just stay away from that. Treat your mind like how you treat your body.
Yeah.
How it's really just a matter of like, what are you feeding yourself with? Positive information or negative information. So that's just the way I see it. See your mind uh, as a very, it's kind of like a mental diet. Does that make sense? Like you have a physical diet, and then you have to also have a mental diet, right? Only read and entertain your thoughts or your mind with things that are uplifting. And the more you do that, the more you are going to be elevated into this new reality that is all, again, as we pierce through the veil, it's becoming more and more apparent, this new heaven on earth.
True, because unless there's something we can actually do about it, there's no advantage to anyone us knowing and putting our attention on it. It's like that older net scenario they say, about not worrying. Can you do anything
Mhm.
about it? Yes. Well, don't worry, get on and do something about it. Can you do anything about it? No. Well, there's no point worrying about it then if you can't change it. So, finally, one of the things I want to know is what have you noticed most about yourself over the last couple of years? Have you noticed any shifts for you personally?
I have. I've learned so much, on the last 2 years. I've learned to not pay attention to the negative stuff. I've learned to not react. I've learned more about myself in the process. You know, um, and I'm always growing, just like everyone else. I don't know everything. My cup is always empty because no one knows everything. Only God. And so I'm still learning. So as much as I like to teach about galactic and cosmic stuff, I also like to learn more and more. And that's the way I see myself is I'm always in a constant state of improving myself as an individual, and that's how we grow through experiences. And I'm also very observant, very observant of everything, but I'm also very picky as to what I choose to accept in my reality and what not to accept. So
Love it. Love it. Now, you've got some really exciting things coming up. I really want to spend a little bit of time you telling us where are you going to be? Where can people see you in person? And if they can't see you in person, have you got any courses coming up that they can join you on?
yes, I'm actually going to be at the Stairway to the Stars Disclosure Fest conference coming up this weekend in Vegas at Luxor.
Amazing.
Thank you. I'm going to be speaking on the AI panel on Sunday and on the Earth Ascension panel, as well as doing my own presentation Sunday from 6:30 to 8 p.m. at Luxor. And then following that, I am actually going to be on a book tour. So on the 14th of November, I'm going to be in Salt Lake City, Utah.
Cool.
For those that live in Utah, if you guys want to come meet me, I'm going to be giving a 2-hour presentation breaking down the entire cosmic structure, the history of the cosmos and galaxy, the different advanced civilizations, the different races. I'm going to cover so many things, and mostly going to be answering questions. And of course, you get to spend some personal time with me. So I'm making it very, small, so that way I could give everybody my attention. Only 50 people. So if you guys are interested in attending my book tour event, I will give you the link for that. So on following Utah, I'm going to be in Denver, Colorado on the 16th of November, and then I'm also going to be in St. Louis, Missouri on the 20th of November. And then I'm going to be in New York, Farmingdale, New York, on the 28th of November. And then after that, I'm going to be in Boca Raton, Florida, on the 6th of December. And then I'm finally going to finish my book tour in Naples, Florida, on the I'm sorry, on the 6th of December, I'm going to be in Naples. On the 4th of December, I'm going to be in Boca Raton, Florida. So that's my itinerary for my book tour. If you guys want to come meet me in person, if you live in those states, that would be great. It'd be nice to meet, some of the Soul Tribe out there. And
Any final words
uh,
that you want to leave people with?
yeah, I forgot to mention, I do have a real YouTube channel where I actually go live 3 times a week, and it's called The Real Ishmael Perez. Of course, I could give you the link because I want to bring the people that are signed to my pirated channels. I do have a lot of fake accounts, YouTube channels that are not mine. Those are all fake, by the way. If it doesn't say The Real Ishmael Perez, it's a fake YouTube channel. So I want to just direct everybody from those channels to the right channel in order to get all the updates and information that I go over whenever I do go live. And then, of course, I do answer a lot of questions. It's very interactive. And so, yeah, that's it.
I've seen a lot of those, and it's really, really important that people don't support those pirate channels. There's a lot of energy exchange goes into this work, and I cannot believe how many fake Instagram accounts and channels that I've got everywhere. And you're looking at it thinking, who does this? But try and really stick to the real ones because again, it's all an energy exchange, and we'd be much appreciated if people did that. Thanks so much. I've really enjoyed that. I'm sure we'll be back again in the new year. Lots of fascinating things to really cover. Really appreciate it and really enjoy those book tours and everything and those events. They're going to be fantastic. Thanks, Ismail.
Thank you, Kat.